Welcome to The Explainer. This week, we're taking you inside the 5 biggest discussions shaping the future of AI. We're going to get past the usual headlines and really look at the fundamental reshuffles that are happening right now in power, leadership, and science itself.
Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to look at 5 major shifts. We'll start with what's happening in the corporate world, then what that means for leadership. After that, we'll dive into the deep science debate, check out the new geopolitical money map, and finally, wrap up with how all this is changing the workforce for you and me.
All right, first up, the battle of the giants. You know, there's this huge shift in sentiment going on between the 2 biggest names in AI. And honestly, the momentum, it's swinging in a direction you might not expect.
So think about it. For a while there, OpenAI felt, well, untouchable, right? But this week, the consensus among the experts is pretty clear. Google is really starting to gain some serious ground. And at the same time, you're hearing more and more skepticism about OpenAI's long-term game.
So, what's driving this comeback for Google? Well, it's not just one thing. It's a few big ones. You've got the progress they're showing with their Gemini 3 model. Then there's their vertical integration. I mean, they control everything from the chips to the cloud to the devices. And getting a huge investment from someone like Warren Buffett, that's a massive vote of confidence. The general feeling is that Google is finally figuring out AI.
And on the other side of the coin, you have OpenAI. Confidence there seems to be taking a hit. That big deal with Oracle, some are saying it's now underwater financially. And people are even starting to whisper about a reverse Midas touch from the leadership. All of this is raising some pretty serious questions about where they're headed.
So here's the bottom line. OpenAI absolutely captured the world's imagination, no doubt about it. But the smart money is starting to say that it's Google's deep, almost boring foundational strengths in infrastructure and science that are going to give them the edge in the long run.
Okay, so this huge corporate showdown, it's having this ripple effect. It's making everyone completely rethink what kind of leadership you even need to win in the age of AI.
And that brings us to a really provocative question that's being thrown around. Is this the end of the MBA? I mean, seriously, does that traditional business degree still make sense in a world that seems to care more about building and creating than just, managing?
And this table really breaks it down, right? On one side, you have the old way, the MBA. That's for administrators and managers, people who are experts at climbing the corporate ladder and dealing with organizational politics. But the new way? Some are calling it the MBB, the Masters in Business Building. This is for the builders and creators, the people who thrive in accelerators and are all about rapid prototyping and just getting stuff done. But wait a second. What if both the builders and the administrators are looking at this all wrong? There's a much deeper, more scientific debate happening that suggests the very foundation of AI as we know it is about to get completely turned on its head. Yeah, this all boils down to a famous idea in AI circles called the bitter lesson. And the lesson is, well, it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow. It's that for decades, the thing that's consistently worked best isn't some clever human-designed trick, it's just brute force. Throwing more and more computing power at a problem has always won out.
But now the conversation is getting a little more philosophical. People are starting to argue that just scaling up forever can't be the final answer. They're saying the real long-term winners, they're going to be the ones who stop trying to just brute force this and instead start looking at nature's playbook. You know, how does nature handle things like energy efficiency, learning to generalize, and evolution?
And this leads to a pretty mind-blowing thought. It means our current AI models, the stuff that feels so advanced right now, they might just be a really clunky, inefficient first draft, a temporary stepping stone on the way to something far more elegant, something that looks a lot more like biology.
Now, obviously, the search for better AI, whether it's by scaling up or finding new science, it takes an insane amount of money. We're talking almost unimaginable amounts of capital. And where that money comes from, well, that's literally redrawing the global map of power.
So, you hear all the headlines about the US and China, right? But look at this. A huge capital shift is happening under the radar. We're talking over $3 trillion committed to AI investment from the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar.
And let's be clear, this isn't just them throwing cash at a hot trend. No, this is a very deliberate, strategic move. They're trying to build brand new industrial power centers based on AI, not oil. It's a play to become the new power brokers of the 21st century.
The logic behind this is actually pretty simple and powerful. In this century, controlling the compute, the infrastructure for AI, is like controlling the oceans or the major trade routes in centuries past. It's seen as the key to everything: ideology, sovereignty, the whole shebang.
So how does all of this global power play, this shift in tech, actually affect us? Well, it all comes crashing down on the workforce. It's creating brand new challenges for hiring and totally changing the shape of the places we work.
You know, for forever, companies were built like a pyramid, right? A ton of junior folks at the bottom, a few execs at the top. Well, that's getting flipped into a diamond shape. Companies are now laser-focused on hiring experienced mid-level experts. The people at the very top are seen as too expensive, and the people at the bottom, well, they're too expensive to train.
This creates a huge headache for hiring managers. I mean, think about it. If an AI can write flawless code for a technical interview, how on earth do you know if the person you're hiring can actually do the job? It seems like the only answer is to stop trying to validate skills on paper and instead focus on one thing: verifiable, real-world output.
And if that's the case, yeah, this could really be the beginning of the end for the traditional 9-to-5. We might be heading towards a future where companies have fewer full-time employees and instead rely on a network of fractional experts, people they hire for specific tasks where the outcome is totally measurable.
So that leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. As all 5 of these great reshuffles in companies, in leadership, in science, in global power, and in the workforce itself, as they all keep speeding up, what does it even mean to have a job in the world that's coming?